Two trucks having sex. Two trucks having sex. My muscles involuntarily flex. Two trucks having sex. Two trucks having sex. My muscles involuntarily flex. Two pickup trucks making love, American made. Built for tough.
Listen up, Autothoughts and Decepticlowns. You're listening to Prime Cuts, a non-linear exploration of the Transformers franchise on television. I'm one of your hosts, Nero.
And I'm your other host, Audrey.
And we are in our first proper episode now, talking Transformers Armada / Micron Legend, because I'm watching the dub, Audrey's watching the sub.
Yeah.
So that should be interesting. Now, before we start off talking about the first 3 episodes of Transformers Armada, because they are sort of a loose 3-parter, we should talk about where Armada fits into the history of the franchise as a whole, because I think it's actually a very pivotal show in terms of the franchise's history. So I want to take us back a little bit before Armada premiered, to the year 2000. And over at Hasbro, Beast Machines is just about to wrap up. And they're looking at how Beast Machines performed as a toy line. And they're kind of tugging on their collars because Beast Machines severely underperformed compared to Beast Wars before it. Now...
So to go back even further, to be very clear, all Transformers media is not judged on its own merit. No one actually, no one cares about it at Hasbro, about the quality of its own show. As the Transformers Wikipedia page says, it has one purpose, and that is to sell toys.
Some shows are better at hiding this fact than others. And sometimes, despite that being the driving force behind it, they can make a genuinely good television show.
Yes.
But ultimately, they're at the whims of Hasbro, who wants to sell the little plastic figures. Now, lately, I think that has been... They have sort of taken their hands off the reins a little bit, because they have kind of multiple things going at once, right? So, right now we have Cyberverse, which is the more mainstream, classically audience, aimed at the more regular audience of Transformers. Then there's the War for Cybertron trilogy toy line in a show, which is sort of aimed at the older collectors. And there's also Rescue Bots Academy, which is the young side, the sort of preschool aged young kids show. So they don't really have to worry so much about how one show is performing, how one toy line is performing. But this was not the case.
There are also 2 other extremely large driving forces right now, which are the major motion pictures.
Yes.
Which were rebooted with Bumblebee to an extent. It still technically, I guess, takes place in the same universe as the Bayverse movies.
Sort of, but like Bumblebee has so many contradictions to the Bay movies that it's in name only. I mean, the Bay movies didn't give a shit about their own continuity, so...
Right. And they still don't. But those are also both, still in production. There's supposed to be a sequel to Bumblebee and, a new Bayverse movie coming out. And, a Beast Wars movie.
Yeah, that's good. That's the Bay one, I think. That's going to be weird.
Yeah, the Bay one is I can't remember which. But anyway, there's a Beast Wars movie coming out,
Ron
which is insane.
Perlman is going to be voicing Optimus Primal, by the way, in that movie.
Fucking phenomenal. And the other driving force is coming off in 2018, the end of a very successful comic run that sort of reinvigorated its, even with the reboot in 2019, reinvigorated its comic sales as well. Yes. So Hasbro has its hands in a lot of pies. Also video games, the War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron video games did pretty well, actually.
Yeah, I played both of those, and they're good.
And there have been, a number of mobile games as well that have been quite successful. Mobile card collecting game that was actually pretty fun. So Hasbro has really expanded its Transformers media, probably really since 2007, since the since the Bayverse movies first started happening.
The movie was the huge explosion. That made Transformers a household name again.
Right, exactly. It sort of, like, created a public consciousness of Transformers as a franchise that had been lacking before then.
But that was not the case back in 2000. They were still going on the model of you have a toy line and a cartoon that drives it. They had basically no ancillary media at all, no other stuff. So Beast Machines was their one thing. And for a variety of reasons, Beast Machines was not a hit. And I think, you know, we'll talk about it when we get there eventually, but Beast Machines is an extremely weird show. Like, it is, as a follow-up to Beast Wars, it is sort of baffling, but I also kind of really respect it just making, like, a show like, hey, this show is about, like, religious struggles and spiritualism and identity, where Beast Wars was full of fart jokes and Waspinator was there. Like, it's really strange.
It's just like sex. Full of fart jokes. Waspinator is there.
Yeah, like, it's Beast Machines as a follow-up is so baffling, and it was not that popular. I think it was critically well received, but general audiences did not really react well to it. Also, a lot of the designs look freaky as fuck.
Yeah, it was, so, again, it's not as though this is any worse than Beast Wars was, but the CGI is very rough.
I think it looks better than Beast Wars in many ways, but the designs that they decided to go with are so out there. Yeah. Like, I think it was really, you know. So, basically, this is all to say that Hasbro needed to change something. So, after Beast Machines, they decided to take a look and see, well, we need to maybe rethink this whole Beast era stuff, and we need to kind of look back to G1 a little bit. So while they were working on this, they kind of imported an older anime from Japan called Car Robots, and they localized it as Robots in Disguise. Like, it was just Robots in Disguise 2001 in many ways is the ultimate filler toy line. Like, they just imported a shit, and Car Robots already is weirdly eclectic in terms of a toy line. There's, like, Beast Wars 2 repaints sitting on the same shelf as, like, G1 figures. It's really weird.
Yeah, and this, all of this goes back. So when we're talking about Hasbro really going back to their roots, and by going back to their roots, we mean stealing Japanese toys and rebranding them,
licensing some shit from Japan to sell to Americans.
And they're like, "What if we did this with the cartoon too?"
Yes. So yeah, before this, obviously there was production stuff involved in G1 with Japan, but that was almost entirely on the animation side. But this is the first time that they had licensed a Japan-only anime to air in the U.S. They dubbed it and everything. And all of this stuff.
It was actually the first Transformers series to be co-developed both in the United States and Japan.
I thought that was Armada. I think wasn't Car
Robots... Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
I thought we were going to
Car Robots.
Armada,
I'm still on Robots in Disguise because it's kind of the stepping stone here, because this is what made Hasbro start thinking about, hey, this anime stuff is way cheaper to produce than this lavish CG cartoon. What if we worked together with the Japanese side of the Transformers manufacturing thing, and at the same time co-developed our own show? And you know, we don't have time to get into some of the stuff that was almost existing. Like, the trans tech is a whole thing that almost happened, but ultimately they went with Armada instead. So Armada, we're here now. Armada is kind of this return to G1. It is robots, pure robots, no animal stuff, no techno-organic stuff. Because even Robots in Disguise had the Predacons, right? Armada, it's classic. It's Autobots and Decepticons on Earth fighting over something. Now, that something is important. So, here's a pop quiz. Beast Machines was probably in development around 1998. what happened between the late 90s and late 2001? What show premiered in the United States and completely took over culture? Pokemon.
Oh my god.
Pokemon exploded in the late 90s and kind of ushered in the second anime boom, right? Because Pokemon caused everyone to start scrambling for anime to get localized. That's how Yu-Gi-Oh! Happens. That's how One Piece gets dubbed by 4Kids in one of the most baffling moves ever, because it was just bought as like a package deal, and they just slapped it on there until they realized, oh man, this is not what we thought it was. And
Was
this
that
is,
at the same time? I thought One Piece came considerably later.
it was around the same era. One Piece was like 2001, I think. And like, so, but they, and the thing about Pokemon is it's about collecting cute creatures that you can use to power things up. And they say, well, hey.
It was in 2004. It was 3 years later.
That's so wild. 2004.
Because I knew that. Because I knew I was watching Yu-Gi-Oh! For like several years before the One Piece thing came out.
One Piece is the thing that basically murdered 4Kids, I think. It's so wild. 2004, there was so much of One Piece out that they could look forward to and see, oh, we can't dub this.
Yeah.
We can't do this shit.
Yeah.
So, but the mini-cons, which are the main thrust of the Armada toy line, I think, were definitely born out of the same sort of collect them all gimmick that Pokemon started.
I had never thought about that, but you were probably right.
Yeah, that's why a derogatory thing the fan base used to refer to Armada back in the day was Pokeformers, because it's about collecting all these cute little robots. And Armada, as a toy line, was extremely successful. Like, the most successful they have had. I think it was more successful than Beast Wars, even. It was huge.
Yeah, no, it was.
It was like, it was a massive injection into the Transformers brand, and they decided to continue on with the Armada stuff, sort of, in Energon. They kept the same continuity, they kept it going. Cybertron is a different deal that we'll talk. It's more complex. We'll talk about it when we get there, but there was some continuity fuckery that happened with Cybertron, because I do not believe that one was co-produced. That, I think, might have been a... Takara started doing some shit on their own, and then Hasbro was like, uh-oh.
Takara said My City now.
Yeah, they said My City now. But Armada is a co-production. It was developed at the same time. The localization was done at the same time that the original was being written. And
yeah, well, so what's really interesting about it is actually that while it was being co-produced at the same time, it actually aired in the United States 6 months before it aired in Japan.
Yes, Armada, the first incarnation of Armada to actually air was the American version. It was not Micron Densatsu, it was Transformers Armada, which is really fascinating.
And the unfortunate part about this is that the early parts especially, but throughout the series, there's a lot of rough translation errors. The entire series on, like, from all ends is sort of, like, riddled with QA issues.
Oh yeah, Armada is like it's sort of a ramshackle show in a lot of ways, which I think adds a bit to its charm.
They really said we're going back to G1 in all ways.
Oh yes, G1 is a disaster full of animation errors and shit. Armada is similarly that.
Yeah, going back to but mostly there are really, really fast translations that were done. And because it aired first in the United States, basically every other country that decided to dub it took the English version. Mm-hmm. So it means that every mistake that shows up in the English dub shows up in every other language that it got dubbed into, which is just so unfortunate.
It is very unfortunate. And, like, yeah, the as a result of this extremely rushed production schedule, which would be a problem that plagued Energon as well. I think finally in Cybertron they slowed down a little bit, but the two co-productions here really, like, the animation in episode, like, it is especially noticeable in episode 3. Episode 3 looks fucking terrible. Like, we'll talk about it. Everybody is weird looking in episode 3. Everybody's off model. I have some screenshots of some interesting looking characters from episode 3. But, like, yeah, as Armada went on, they kind of managed to pull it together into something more cohesive, and the dubbing mistakes mostly stopped. But early on, there are definitely a lot of, like, name mix-ups. I believe at one point, Red Alert calls Hotshot by Hot Rod, which is his Japanese name, a couple of times.
Yep.
The stunt action team constantly gets their names swapped around early on in Armada. Like, Highwire stays the same, but Sureshock, you have no idea who's going to be Sureshock and who's going to be Grindor in these early bits. It could be anybody. They could call Carlos Sureshock for all we know. So we should talk, now that we've sort of given the place in Armada socially, we should talk a little bit about the show itself, starting with its first episode.
So,
what is it called?
Well, despite all of these myriad issues,
trials and tribulations.
Yeah, trials and tribulations. It did eventually debut in the United States in 2001 in a 3-part movie.
Okay,
that's how they sort of presented it. It's not a movie. It's just 3 episodes. Don't worry about it.
But it makes sense why there is no... The dub does not have any actual intro for the first 3 episodes. Like, you don't get the normal Armada intro, which, by the way, the Armada intro is kind of cool. It's got this, like, slamming guitar going on in the background of the More Than Meets the Eye theme.
Yeah, we super do get the intro in the Japanese version, actually.
That's what I figured, because I bet this was not aired as a 3-part movie event in Japan.
And the official name in the Japanese, by the way, is Super Robot Lifeforms Transformers, Legend of the Microns.
Right, yeah, Micron Densatsu. So, I looked at the opening, the first opening for Legend of the Microns. I gotta say, I didn't like it. I think it looks bad.
It looks bad and it sounds weird.
It's a weird opening.
It's a weird opening.
I think for once, the dub might win out on the intro-wise, because the like I said, the Armada intro's fucking slamming.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so let's talk about... should we go ahead and jump into episode 1 here?
Yeah, episode 1 in the sub is Confrontational Encounter.
Episode 1 is First Encounter. One thing I like about the Armada localized titles, they're all very short and very snappy. Like, there's no cleverness like what 4Kids tried to do with fucking Yu-Gi-Oh, right?
Yeah.
No, it's just like, here's what the episode is about. First encounter, base, metamorphosis, one word. It's 2001. We don't have time for multi-word titles. It's the modern world. We're moving fast.
Y2K, baby. Let's go.
We're all still fucking high on anxiety from Y2K. We thought everything was going to explode. It didn't. And now we don't know what to do with ourselves. This is a post-9/11 world.
We start, as most all Transformers series do, in war.
That's true. I do want to shout out the narrator for Armada, who has the coolest fucking voice ever. Like, obviously, the G1 narrator is untouchable, but this one kind of has the same vibe. So I will directly quote the first opening narration as we get this montage through like space. And let me try to get my voice as deep as this guy does. Light years ago, a unique digital entity came into being. In search of others, it sent out explorers to every corner of the galaxy. These digital mechanical beings became known as Transformers. That's basically all we get of the intro. That's like their origin story here. A unique digital being, which is I like that phrase. It's very funny to me for some reason.
Yeah.
He just popped in one day. It's like, huh, what's going on over here? I'm going to make some other guys. And then he did. And apparently they were not actually so Cybertron it would be known throughout time and space as we get our explanation of the war in this continuity is being fought over a race of tiny robots called the Minicons, who have the ability to boost the power of anyone they combine with. And so it's kind of this arms race between the Autobots and Decepticons. But eventually, both sides realize that they are completely deadlocked and have to do something. So, They call a
I
truce.
do want to point out actually that as the like war is raging here, you hear some fanon time units used. Actually, that I wasn't sure. Like there's some character says it's only 27 clicks more.
Oh, so there's like so Micron Legend has like in-universe chatter going on over this segment.
Yeah.
Okay, that's new because it's just the narrator in the dub.
Oh yeah, when they're actually fighting.
Yeah, like when they're sending the Minicon arc.
Yeah. So there's like whole dialogue there of going on and for where and they're opening this warp gate.
Yeah.
And they're saying we only have to wait 27 more clicks, which is like, as far as I was aware before watching this, really only a fanon unit of time measurement that was used. So
let me know when Vorns pops up.
Orns and
like
Vorns,
Orns
yeah.
and Vorns, I always like those.
Yeah, and Deca Orns, that's my favorite. But yeah, so like that was fun for me to hear them using this.
Yeah.
You know, I've talked about this a little bit on other shows that I've guested on and talked about Transformers, but because the entire point of the Transformers franchise is to sell toys, Hasbro tends to capitulate to fans much more easily.
Yeah, they like their fan service.
Yeah, than other fans do. So, like, fandom terms have become canon now. Things like Seekers and Sparklings were all originally fanon terms that have now become canon within the wider universe, which is very cool to me.
Yeah, that also happens when, like, a show, like, a franchise has been going for, like, almost 40 years straight now. Like, there's never really been that much downtime for the Transformers. Like, the biggest gap in the U.S. was between the end of G1 and Beast Wars. But, of course, during that time, a bunch of other shit was happening in other countries. Like, you had the Japan-only sequel series going on over there, and Europe had their own shit going on too. Like there was comics coming out in the European market. So like technically, Transformers has never stopped. It's been going for like 40 years. Yeah.
Anyway, they send the Minicons through a space portal.
Yeah. So he says, the narrator in the dub says that they called a truce and both sides sent the Minicons through the portal. Is that true in the sub as well?
No, absolutely not. So the Decepticons, or the Destrons as they're called in Japanese, are attacking this Micron ship. And the Autobots are like, all right, hurry, open a space bridge.
Yeah, I figured that this was an Autobot plan in the sub, because it's weird that there's like a space battle happening while this guy's talking about the truce.
Yeah.
But yeah, they send the Minicon arc like slingshotting. They fucking yeet this thing into deep space so that they can't be hurt by this war anymore. Unfortunately, no one looked at the maps and made sure that there was like, we're just gonna yeet them into like one of those big fucking super voids where there's nothing there. They yeeted them into Earth space, sort of vaguely.
Wheeljack.
Oh, Wheeljack. Yeah. And
not eventually Wheeljack.
Yeah, not Armada Wheeljack. Armada Wheeljack. We'll get there. He's like a edgy bad boy.
He sure is.
But eventually, the Minicon arc smashes directly into the moon, and the dormant Minicons get spread all over the Earth as it crashes. And this is another classic Transformers plotline of a Transformers ship crashes onto the Earth and lays dormant for millions and millions of years. As
always, Stanley Kubrick wants what Transformers has.
Yeah, we see a shot of, like, primitive, like, human ancestors looking up as these streaks of light go across the sky as the Minicons are seated on Earth, which, like, I think this first episode looks pretty good compared to, like, episode 3.
Well...
Like,
everything's relative, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things about Armada is that, like, it does have a lot of animation issues, but one thing about it is that it's, like, really inconsistent. There are episodes that look fine and good, and then there are episodes that look awful for a period, but, like, compared to its sequel series, Energon just looks terrible all the way through. Like, it just looks like that forever. In fact, Energon only looks worse as it goes on, which is extremely funny. We'll get there, but Energon is generally considered to be like, oh, this is the worst Transformers show. they've ever put out.
Haha, this sucks, man.
Haha, this sucks, man. That was their like 20th anniversary show too. Energon. So sad.
Yikes.
But so yeah, it's millions of years past. We see this like montage, this like time lapse of the Earth shifting and changing over the minicon ship. And I assume is this all silent in the sub, or is there like a narrator popping in to tell like, yeah, the minicons crashed? And
I think it's silent.
I assume a lot of narration in this dub is over silent stuff in the sub, which all right, so let's talk about Rad. So here's our human characters for this time. We're introduced to Rad.
Can we talk about where we are?
Yes, where are we in the sub?
We're in Lincoln, Nebraska.
That's right. I don't know if we actually get that location in the dub. We get Lincoln Middle School, so I guess, yeah. And I do remember in the comics they say it's Nebraska, but I can't remember if we ever got
It's Nebraska.
It's so
Lincoln,
fucking
Nebraska.
funny. Yeah, we're in
Lincoln.
fucking Lincoln, Nebraska.
We're in Lincoln, Nebraska, and specifically, I mean, I will give it to them. This is what like that part of the Midwest looks like, honestly.
Yeah, just
like,
fucking rocks.
Just rocks, and I'm always interested about where like Transformers series takes place. I mean, the original G1 was in Portland, Oregon. Yep. That was Portland, Oregon. Sparkplug owns a chop shop in right in Portland.
I want to remake.
TFA takes place in Detroit.
That's right. Yeah, that's. I love that because like in Transformers Animated, Detroit has kind of future Detroit, because of certain events in Animated, has kind of taken its place back as the center of industry, but instead of cars, it's
of automobiles,
of robots.
Well, yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
This takes place in fucking Lincoln, Nebraska. Where does Prime place
Prime
somewhere
takes place in like
right?
Nevada. Prime takes place in a fictional town in Nevada.
Usually, Transformers shows take place in fairly remote locations within Earth. Robots in Disguise isn't. Robots in Disguise 2001 is like in the middle of a city, I think. But so yeah, we're in Lincoln, Nebraska, and it's White Boy Wednesday here with Brad.
Oh, well, specifically, we're at a research station, a military research station within Lincoln.
Yes,
Nebraska.
It's like a research station,
a geological
lab. Yeah,
like geological astronomy research station within like set into like this mountain.
Yeah. By the way, before we talk about Rad, I know I want to talk about Rad very badly because Rad is extremely funny. But I want to talk about the warp gate effect because I love the warp gate effect in this show.
It actually does look pretty good.
They just stretch in Photoshop and it looks dope. We will see that a lot as the show goes on. But yeah, Rad is here, and so Rad.
Welcome to your human MC.
He's very enthusiastic, especially in the dub, because literally the next scene is like, "Hi, my name's Rad." Like after we get the time lapse, it's like, "Hi, my name's Rad. I live in Lincoln, Nebraska. My best friend is Carlos. He's cool. He skateboards. My dad is a scientist. Here's my middle school." Like he just tells us everything about his life, and I'm like, "Hey, slow down."
So I don't know if you get this in the dub. I can't remember, but Rad takes on this episode. Carlos does the exact same thing next episode, and Alexa does the same thing in the third episode.
That's cool. Like I wish they did that.
They all literally give their like full introductions.
That's so fucking
as
funny.
Everything is going on. So
no, Rad is the narrator for the dub. It's only ever Rad, I think.
Yeah, so Rad, real name Brad.
Brad, I forgot. His name was fucking... We got Bradley here.
Brad, but all his friends call him Rad. All his friend is Carlos, and sometimes Alexa.
Yes, so Carlos... I should say Carlos in the dub, voiced by Matt Hill, doing a questionable accent, I would say.
Oh, fuck, I forgot about that.
I know. Matt Hill, I have seen Ed and... By the way, Matt Hill is the voice of Ed from Ed, Edd n Eddy. Ed with a singular D. Which is interesting. There's also... Eddie's voice actor is also in the dub, and he literally just sounds like that, so... Like, that's just his voice. Eddie was just his voice. But Matt Hill is doing a questionable accent in the dub. So, you know, it's 2001. We didn't know shit about fuck. That just happened. Especially I believe for the 4Kids team was doing this. I think I remember in the credits every week you see the 4Kids logo. So I should also say that Rad's dub voice actor passed away recently, Kirby Morrow.
Oh wow,
that's kind of sad. He's pretty young. But I think honestly, he's all right. Like as far as annoying white boys who really love biking, he is tolerable as far as that goes. He is definitely not as bad as some other future Unicron trilogy human characters. But Rad.
So it wasn't 4Kids, actually.
Oh, it wasn't? Who did the dubbing?
It was VoiceBox Productions Inc., a Canada-based dialogue replacement company for both live action and animated productions. VoiceBox provided the English dubs for Armada, Energon, and Cybertron cartoons.
That's interesting, yeah. So,
and outside of Transformers, to your point, Nero, VoiceBox was also in charge of voice casting and production for countless animated movies and shows, including Ed, Edd and Eddy, My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, Johnny Test, Mucha Lucha, and multiple Barbie films.
Oh, fuck. I need to figure out who in the show is in Mucha Lucha. You want to talk about some questionable just accents, watch that show.
Yeah, really.
So, yeah, what you need to know about Rad, it's 2001, it's X Games,
it's White
baby.
Boy Wednesday.
It's fucking White Boy Wednesday. He loves his biking. He says, when he's talking about Carl, he says, I've known him since kindergarten, I think. He's so cool. He's great at skateboarding. He could go pro if he wanted to. He loves his boys.
Yeah.
It's so funny. But yeah, so we kind of go in here. It's Lincoln Middle School. Rad is in the 7th grade.
He's 12 years old.
He's 12 years old. I never learned how to read. And we kind of meet with Alexis in the dub. A very strange change. I don't know why they wouldn't just keep her as Alexa.
Sorry, I'm probably sounding a little distant there because I was turning on my light. But, Alexa to Alexis. I think it's just VoiceBox being contrary at that point.
Maybe, or maybe they got like like they mistranslated something and thought it was Alexis, and they're like, oh, it's Alexa. But she's sort of she's a nerd. Like, there's no getting around it. She's a nerd. They are talking about going to this cool fucking cave they found up in the mountains after school. Carlos and Rad are, and she's like, I don't want to go into a cave with you guys. I got the math homework to do and shit.
And they make a joke. They it's like, yeah, well, you know how concentrated Alexa is on becoming our next president.
Which happens in Cybertron.
Yeah.
The Secretary General of the UN is modeled after her.
Yeah.
Fucking incredible.
Don't worry about it.
So
what a good show.
What a good fucking show. So yeah, she wants to become the next president. Girl boss. It's girl boss time here, but she.
Believe me, all three of them are actually the perfect combination of girl boss, gatekeep, gaslight, as we'll find out later.
Yes,
in the third episode.
So after Alexis leaves, saying delivering for the last time, the answer is no, and then Rad has some. Let's see, I wrote it down here. She says after she rejects him, she says, "Is it just me? Is it just me, or do you get the feeling that Little Miss Stuck Up dissed us big time?" I just wrote, okay, Rad.
Yeah, really.
Can you stand to be less 2001? And no, he can't. He will only become more 2001 as we go on.
You're so 2001. I'm so 2000 and fun.
God damn it. So we meet Bulk and Skull. Excuse me, Billy and Fred. Who are?
Okay. Want to know another very funny change?
I would love to.
Fred's name in the sub is Jim. They just changed it to Fred.
Jim.
I know he's the only one they actually actively changed. Like Alexa was probably just like a mishearing something or whatever. But fine, whatever.
Change it to Fred.
But they changed Jim to Fred, so his name is Jim.
Billy is still Billy.
Billy is still Billy.
Billy and Jim is quite a duo.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're here. It's weird. They're kind of bullies, but not really. They mostly just seem kind of pathetic and uncool. I
actually think they're like kind of more realistic
Yeah,
than a lot of things are. Because they're not like bullying. They're just like diametrically opposed to everyone else. They're like, we just don't like you guys.
Yeah, I guess technically Carlos and Rad are kind of the bullies because they're like the cool athletic guys. They're the jocks.
Yeah, they're just like, they're both like, we think each other's vibes are mutually rancid.
Yeah, they just don't get along. I will say that Fred's entire deal in the dub, he likes to eat. He's a big boy, and he also whines a lot. It is Eddie's voice actor doing Fred, and he just sounds like Eddie. Not as funny as Eddie popping up as the every single missile hit the target guy in the Evangelion dub, which is always my favorite detail about the old Evangelion dub, is that Eddie is in it. What's his name? It's like, I'll look at him in a minute, but
it's just Eddie. Don't worry about it.
It's just Eddie. His name is Tony Sampson.
Yep.
Fucking Canadians all over the place. But yeah, so they're like,
yeah, it's a Canadian production company.
They are. There's an extremely Canadian line read from Red Alert in episode 2, I think.
Ooh,
which is great. But they're just antagonizing Carlos and Rad. They're like, cave, going to a cave, fucking losers. But they also want to go to the cave, secretly for some reason. They don't seem very outdoorsy. I guess they're just going there to prank.
Well, there's actually like a line later about that where as they approach the cave, following them, Billy like yells to Jim to like keep up, and Jim's like, I don't want to. He's like, I want to do something else. I don't want to do this. And Billy's like, well, you just like come on. And Jim's like, you're the one who's naturally outdoorsy. I don't like this stuff.
Yeah, that's basically the same deal they have in the dub. Fred doesn't want to be there at all. But they do bug Rad's bike to track him, which is crazy.
Yes. Yeah, so apparently, like, all of their parents work in the research lab.
Yeah, this is like
it is unclear if this is actually, like, a public school or just, like, a school on a military base in Lincoln, Nebraska.
It's also hard to tell if it's actually, I guess it's a military base, but it seems more like geo-research. Like, there's no... It would make sense if it was a military base, because then it would sort of track how the Decepticons gathered so much data on military vehicles, but we never actually see any.
I mean, I think it's like military run. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to do with like the like, it's not like a weapons or a training base or anything like that, but it's like NASA, research. You know?
Yeah, it's like a NASA. I think it's like NASA's outpost or whatever. So I'm gonna guess that a lot of this Rad narration is not in the original, because he's always talking about stuff in the narration. He loves to talk about himself. So yeah, but classics of dub is like just inserting random narration over like still shots and stuff. But yeah, they after school, Carlos and Rad are heading up to the mountains to go into this cave, and Billy and Fred, I can't get over that his name is Jim. That's, for some reason, that is the funniest fucking thing on the planet to me.
It's so fucking funny.
Jim. They follow them. And...
As though, like, Fred is a more, like, kid-friendly...
Yeah, like a more age-appropriate name. No, they both sound like they should be 40-year-old dudes, but it's so funny. So, they are... This is, I think, where Billy and Fred are arguing outside. And in the dub, Fred has the line... My therapist says I don't have to take that from you because you're not the boss of me. When Billy's telling him to shut the fuck up and come on. And Carlos and Rad are just exploring this cave. Just hang out with the boys in some caves, as you do in 2001, I guess. And
when you only have a flip phone, what else are you gonna do for fun?
I don't know, play Snake.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, Carlos has he has a good idea of leaving a rope trail behind them while they explore, so they don't get lost. Very smart. I believe Rad at some point calls him. He says "you the man" to him after Carlos explains that. The thing I love about Rad, he is always gassing up Carlos. He fucking loves that dude. It's great. But unfortunately, Carlos fucks up. He steps on a thing and starts like a dark ride, kind of. There's like a It's like a roller coaster where it's like a roller coaster cave collapse where they just get sent into this landslide situation way deeper underground. At some point, Billy and Fred flee from the cave. It's not that important.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of get, like...
freaked out.
But they're like, we don't know where we are.
Yeah, they did not have Carlos's extremely good idea of leaving a rope trail. Because they are stupid. So they leave. I think they're hearing their like echoes kind of causes Billy, Rad, and Carlos to accidentally step on the thing. Because Billy and Fred are screaming at the top of their lungs. Then you cut to Carlos and Rad, and you're like,
they're so fucking mad.
What the hell is that noise? The fuck is that? Bro, what is that? Do you hear that? So they get out of the cave pretty quick, which is good because what happens afterwards is that, Carlos and Rad go on the fucking mountain expressway and end up in a massive underground chamber. There's
a great moment as they, like, slide down on this huge slab, where, like, they first, like, fall, and there's, like, a second pause.
Yes,
and then they start sliding all the way down.
Yeah, because, like, Carlos steps on a thing, the rock, like, shudders and drops down, and they both stand there, it's like, whoa, you okay, man? And then the sliding happens.
Yeah.
So they end up, obviously, in the long-buried Minicon arc, or the segment of the Minicon arc that, like, crashed on Earth. Because the Minicon arc, to describe it, is kind of like, it's this huge ship that's kind of fork-shaped. Like, it comes to these two prongs at the front. And that seems to be where most of the Minicons were stored. Because one of those prongs, or like the rest of the ship is on the moon, as we'll later see, which is where the Decepticons make their base. And then this one prong fell to Earth. So I guess that's like the cargo containment.
Yeah.
So they're exploring. Rad is using like a blowtorch to light the way, because I think he lost his flashlight or something.
Right, so they fall down, and Carlos says, I lost my, like, I can't remember his flashlight.
Yeah.
And Rad's like, don't worry about it, bro. Check this shit out.
I have this for some reason. So they're
I have this for some reason, but it's like the tiniest thing of oil. Like, how long can this last?
Well, luckily they won't have to worry about light for much longer, because as they're exploring, they're like, "What the fuck is this? It looks like an alien spaceship. It looks like a UFO or something." And they come across this pentagonal panel lodged in the rock, and it's glowing. And Carlos says, that looks radioactive. You probably shouldn't touch that. But it's White Boy Wednesday. You can't stop Rad.
It is unfortunately White Boy Wednesday.
So Rad touches this glowing thing, which sets off a chain reaction of a whole lot of shit. If he had never touched this, everything would have been fine. Alright, so here's the order of operations. What happens is, he touches this, it starts glowing really brightly. He's screaming the whole time, which is really funny. I don't know if he's also screaming the whole time in the sub.
I earnestly can't remember.
But in the dub, he's just going, "Ah!" as the glowing intensifies. An earthquake happens. An EMP knocks out all electronics in the entire city. We see the research station, all the scientists are freaking the fuck out.
NASA just forgot to pay their electric bills, you see.
And that's what happened. Alexis feels this and immediately opens up her computer and sees the epicenter of the quake is the place where Rad and Carlos are, and she goes, "Oh fuck, I gotta get over there." Then a huge light shoots into space, because the signal, the awakening of the Minicon has signaled Cybertron. So we see Cybertron here. And one thing I like about this show...
It's literally like, yo, Autobots, Decepticons, wake up. Some humans fucked up big time.
Yeah, some humans fucked up big time. They've just been sitting on their asses for 2 million years, shooting at each other every so often, because there's no more Minicons. So we can't do all the cool, mass destruction shit we could when we were powered up by them. But then, Autobot HQ gets lit the fuck up. And one thing about this show, they really like to use old G1 animation models to fill out extras in scenes on Cybertron. and I noted a few familiar faces that showed up as just like Autobot randos on Cybertron. So I spotted Powerglide, Red Alert, Beachcomber, like a handful of aerial bots.
Yeah, actual Red Alert, not
G1 Red Alert, not the new
G1
not the
Red
new
Alert.
guy. Crosshairs and Hound are all hanging out on Cybertron, and this will continue whenever we see Cybertron. Because another thing about the show compared to G1, it has a very small cast, especially starting now.
Yeah.
There's 3 Autobots and 4 Decepticons starting out here, so a lot of these crowd shots are just filled out by like G1 animation models they had lying around. I was like, I don't just throw a Powerglide in there, I guess.
I love that. Of all the characters, Powerglide.
Beachcomber. I was like, I don't know, throw them in there. we got some fucking aerial bots lying around.
Beachcomber's at least like a nice match for Hound, I guess.
Yeah. And Crosshairs is the funniest one because he's like I'm pretty sure he only ever showed up maybe in the Rebirth, which was never aired in Japan, and maybe only in commercials because he was a very late series toy. And so this is where Rad says "you demand" to Carlos because they find the rope after freaking the fuck out and running back because they cause an earthquake. Rad is still holding onto the minicon panel, of course.
Yeah. Which he will do at, like, risk of his life.
Yeah, I know it's cool looking. I don't know why you'd hold on to what happens later happens, because what happens is they run out of the cave.
12 years old and no survival instincts.
Oh, absolutely. Rad is dumb as fuck. So they run out of the cave, and then Megatron materializes in front of them.
And now we're back from outer space!
So this is Cybertron for Megatron. I don't like most of these Cybertron forms that we see in these 2 episodes. Megatron looks all right, though. I like his, purple. He looks like he turns into a hover tank. I don't know.
He looks like he turns into a beetle.
He kind of does. Yeah, so I love Armada Megatron's design. So I want to talk. So Armada Megatron, one of the most iconic things about him, he's got these antlers. He's got these horns that later become they become antlers, and they look really cool.
So here's the thing. It's kind of a funny design. Your cool to ridiculous mileage may vary.
I like it. I think.
But what it does do for me is call back some of like G1 Galvatron's design. A little bit, yeah. Like a little bit, the horns. Which is like, which for me is enough to be like, all right, that's kind of fun. If you like that,
Energon Megatron is extremely G1 Galvatron, like just straight up. But yeah, so Megatron is here in I assume he is silent and menacing in the dub, right? Yes. Or in the sub. In the dub, they have him like grunting and groaning as he stands up. He's like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh. And it's like, it's not like evil growls. It kind of sounds like he's trying to take a shit. Which is extremely funny.
He makes like I think he materializes and he has like a little bit of a kind of.
Yeah, he does say a lot, but he's going
He has tummy troubles and he's being so brave about them.
He's being so brave about it. So he's slowly standing up and kind of looking around. At some point, Highwire pops out of the minicon panel. He awakens. I really like the sound effects in the show. There's some really I love there's like a lot of electronic whooshes and stuff that sound very good.
His name is Wheelie in the sub.
Oh God.
Which I will say, probably the best version of Wheelie to ever be created.
Correct, because he does not talk.
Because he does not talk. IDW at least made it like he's annoying because of trauma thing, but
yeah, he's like a fucking feral child lost in space.
Yeah.
Instead of just the worst.
So
Highwire awakens and makes beeps and boops.
He's just a little guy.
He's just a little guy. All of the minicons
cannot change this.
All of the minicons are just little guys, but Highwire especially is just a little guy. And so Megatron sees this and says, "All right, hand that shit over."
Yeah,
he finally says something.
Return that to me. And literally Carlos is like, oh my god, he talked.
Yes. So Highwire, seeing Megatron, panics, understandably, because Megatron is right there, and quickly scans Rad's bike, which has been left near the mouth of the cave there. Turns into a way cooler looking bike. Now, here's a confusing thing. So he transforms. Oh, Alexis also shows up at some point and says, like, what the fuck is going on? What is happening over here
on this day?
Yeah, the good lord, what is happening in there? And Highwire transforms into a bike, and Rad can understand him. Now, here's a confusing bit. So Megatron starts lumbering towards them. Highwire transforms back into a robot and just carries all of the humans.
I think the reason he did that because
more than one person can't ride a bike,
right.
So he transforms and he realizes, oh, there's 3 of you now. Hang on, so he just grabs everybody and starts running. At some point,
I have to say, the move that Megatron does here is actually very good and very funny.
He grabs a rock.
Exactly what I would have done if I were a giant robot looking at like 3 human children with Minicon I really wanted.
He grabs a rock and just flicks it at them at super high speeds, and just knocks them all on their asses. It's very funny. At some point, Alexis calls him a robo-geek. Which is really funny. It's like, you have this fucking gigantic evil robot with huge horns, and you calling him
no
a
one
robo-geek?
No one here has any survival instincts.
Absolutely. Carlos kind of does. He immediately is like, yo, we need to get out of here.
We need to bounce.
So Megatron is advancing, and this is when we get the fucking... So Megatron is reaching for them as, I'll be taking that Minicon. And then we hear...
Daddy Big Dick just landed!
He sure did. So we hear the fucking main theme kick in, which is, as I said, some cool fucking guitars. And then Optimus says, stand down, Megatron. And we pan up, and he's in a G1 inspired body, and he looks cool as hell. And everyone is just going, whoa.
I will say that Convoy / Optimus's design in Armada is pretty fucking good.
I love Armada Optimus a lot. Also, Gary Chalk doing Optimus in the show. Much he's of course more known for Optimus Primal, but I quite like Gary Chalk Optimus. I think Peter Cullen's Optimus is always much more of a he's a dad. Especially in Prime.
Oh, fuck yeah, he is. Boogie, woogie, woogie, woogie.
Man, I can't wait to talk about Jack's mom and Optimus in Prime. That's so fucking funny.
Jack's mom is another character I'm kin with. June Darby knows what she wants.
She immediately gets the Autobot base, looks at him and goes, hello! So fucking funny. But Gary Chalk, especially in Beast Wars, because Optimus Primal is much more of a inexperienced commander than Prime is in G1. Because G1 Prime is this not quite stoic, but he's this heroic stand-up figure, this authority figure for everyone to look up to, and he's kind and
except when he's not, he's kind of an asshole. Sometimes
he's kind of an asshole,
G1.
but he's firm. He's
yeah. But
Gary Chalk is a little bit less especially in Beast Wars, he is much more uncertain of himself. He is much snappier. He's way more of an asshole. But to be fair, Rat Trap kind of deserves it. Rat Trap is a little shit in Beast Wars. But Armada Optimus...
As opposed to any other place where Rat Trap shows up, where he's not a little shit.
So Armada Optimus is a kind of Gary Chalk doing G1 Optimus. He is much more stoic, the big boss man who's here to fucking solve shit. He's pretty cool. So they start grappling, and all of the kids are going, holy shit, what is going on? And that's where we end episode 1.
Yep.
Oh, actually, I should say Rad's closing line in the dub is extremely good, because he's watching Optimus and Megatron grapple here, and he goes, I have a feeling this is all my fault. Correct.
And he was right.
You are correct.
For the
Rad.
first and last time in the series.
So, directly following it, on to episode 2, Metamorphosis.
Or in the sub, metamorphosing the disguise.
Yeah, pretty much the same, like, idea behind the title.
Yeah. Here comes my special boy.
Yeah, so we start off, like I said, the dub episodes do not have the proper intro yet. They are, every episode starts with a recap of the previous one. Actually, the third episode is really weird. Because the recap, we'll get there, but the recap contains no dialogue that happens in the previous episode. No events that happened in the previous episode are in the recap, but Rad starts off with last time on the Transformers, and then it shows shit that is completely new. It's really weird. It's so fucking weird. So
great show. Knocking it out of the park.
So it's almost more like a cold open, but for some reason they frame it as a recap. So Rad is telling us what happened. Basically, it's like, I found a thing in a cave, and now these two guys are here. And he says, little did I know that me and my friends were going to play an important role in this battle's outcome. No, you're not. No, you're not.
Are you?
Shut the fuck up, Rad. You're just hanging out with them. They're just like you just hang out with them because you're the one who found the minicons and you understand them. That's the only reason you're around. Billy and Fred are still here, is in my notes.
Yeah.
They sure are.
Yeah. They're in another cave.
They're still lost.
They're still, yeah. They didn't actually run out of the cave. They just ran down another cave.
That's right. They ran out another cave. They're super lost. They're freaking out.
They're super lost. Yeah, so, in the fight... hey, more guys show up.
Yeah, before that, though, so the kids in Highwire are running away, because of course they are, because there's giant robots wrestling in the background. But in the background, while Optimus is shoving Megatron up against a mountain, take that how you will, Megatron knees Optimus in the nuts.
Would you say in the truck nuts?
In the truck nuts, yes. he just you just see it. He just goes right for it. It's extremely funny. Yes, and then some other guys show up. So that while they're running away,
I was like literally racking my brain right now for the fanon term for nuts.
Oh God!
But I don't think there is one.
Damn. Well, more research is needed for the fandom term for. Listen, I
think
you certainly know a lot about the fanon interpretations for how Transformers fuck, which there are lots of. But as they're running away, another guy appears out of a sort of grape-flavored warp gate, and it's Starscream.
I want to see my little boy. Here he comes.
Here he comes. Actually, there's a really cool effect that Starscream has when he first appears. He's like kind of folded up, and his eyes open with like an aperture effect, which is not something we ever see again.
Yeah, and he also like uses them to like zoom in.
Yeah, he's kind of like the sniper almost of the Decepticon team here. And I gotta say, Starscream and Demolisher's Cybertronian forms look kind of naked because they're missing like Demolisher doesn't have his shoulder missiles and Starscream doesn't have the big wings,
right?
Or the shoulder cannons, so they look kind of weird.
And by Demolisher, I think you mean Ironhide.
That's right. Ironhide is
very funny. So in the Japanese version, Demolisher is called Ironhide. Demolisher also shows up at the same time Starscream. They warp out together.
They warp out
together. For those who don't know, Ironhide is generally a very high-ranking officer in the Autobot army.
Yeah, he's like Optimus Prime's right-hand man, pretty much, in G1. So it's extremely funny.
Him or Prowl.
Yeah, him. They're like kind of like right and left.
Yeah.
Like Prowl is the strategist, Ironhide is the military commander.
Right.
But yeah, so as I said, in this period, Hasbro is kind of trying to bring a lot of these old names back into circulation because there were basically no G1 names in Beast Wars. There were a few. I know in particular there's one really weird toy only lore where Prowl, Ironhide, and G1 Silverbolt, I believe, are all extant in the Beast Wars universe, and they have a combiner form. And it's not like new versions of the characters. It's literally them.
Huh.
But obviously Silverbolt shows up in Beast Wars as a new character. But for the most part, a lot of Beast Wars is new names, with completely unattached to G1 counterparts. In this show, they're starting to do the thing where they are going to import a lot of G1 names. So we have now Demolisher is interesting because that is a new name. Demolisher is a completely new character. But obviously in Japan, he was Ironhide, tied to the G1 character. Hotshot, similarly, by the way, so the Decepticons menace the humans for a bit, and then Hotshot and Red Alert warp in.
I mean, it's barely even menacing. Like, they get in there, Starscream, locates Wheelie.
Yeah,
and he's like...
Looks at Highwire.
Okay, and he's like, alright, I'm just gonna grab this and go. He doesn't care about the humans at all. He's just like, yeah, alright.
Yeah, well, why would he? The humans are like... It's funny because you see a thermal imaging overlay that Starscream has. And, the humans aren't glowing at all. They do not register on his visuals. So but he's not
really menacing them. He's just trying to grab Wheelie and go. But as he's trying to grab it, a yellow arm shoots out.
It's Hotshot. He's here, and in Japan he's called Hot Rod, who is a G1 character. But I know that Hotshot was going to be called Bumblebee at some point in production, but they moved away from that. And they did not have the trademark for Hot Rod anymore, so they could not use that. So they created a new name for Hotshot.
Doesn't stop them from doing it a couple times in mistranslations anyway.
Yep. You listen, the timetable for production on the show was extremely tight. So some shit slips through. But Hotshot is here, and Red Alert, who in Japan is called Ratchet, another G1 character. I guess Red Alert is too. They're just two very different G1 characters.
They're just, I mean, they're both on the emergency vehicle.
It's interesting though because Red Alert is the medic in this show. He's the chief medical officer, which was Ratchet's job in G1. G1 Red Alert was a security officer, I believe. He was the security guy.
He was security officer, and his most defining character trait was being just absolutely paranoid. Super fucking paranoid.
He had a whole spotlight episode in G1 where the Decepticons exacerbate that issue.
Specifically where Starscream exacerbates that issue.
Of course it is. So they're here. The Decepticons very quickly warp away. As soon as Hotshot and Red Alert shows up, Megatron just says, fuck this.
Actually, I changed my mind. Fuck this.
I don't want to deal with you assholes right now. I'm going to go back. So the Autobots, we don't see them. Well, we do see them go through the warp gate, but when Megatron, Starscream, and Demolisher warp away, they have a evil version of the warp gate animation where it's they get undigitized almost, they kind of get erased with these digital effects.
It's a fade transition in PowerPoint.
Yeah. And as Hotshot says, I think it's Hotshot just says, I think that was a short range warp, so I think they have a base nearby.
Right, and there's some discussion, Hotshot's all right, where the fuck did they get this technology from? Because they didn't have it before, and they didn't have enough time to create it. And Optimus is doesn't matter. All we need to know is that it's nearby somewhere, and they all look up at the sky, where the moon is in the sky, and it's literally Ratchet's oh, hey, Optimus, you got back quickly. Optimus cocking his gun. Moon's haunted.
Yep. So we cut up to the moon base, where we see Cyclonus lounging around here. In Japan, he is Sandstorm, which is much more fitting because Sandstorm was a helicopter in G1, and Cyclonus is also a helicopter in this show.
Yeah. He
immediately goes into fucking sycophant mode when Megatron and the squad reappears, because he was fucking sleeping. He was literally just napping. He is oh, welcome back, glorious leader. I hope your outing went well. And Megatron says, it didn't. Optimus showed up.
Yeah, in the Japanese version, there's this level of silence between the three of them first, and he's so no minicon?
I think that's also in the dub, where everyone just sort of stands there and Megatron just sort of growls at him and just says, I see. And Megatron asks, "All right, shut the fuck up. Have you located the Minicon ship yet?" Or no, he asks Starscream that, I think. And Starscream is like,
yeah. Well, okay,
no.
Stop for a second, because this is the first time that Starscream actually speaks, and his voice is so fucking low. It took
really?
me out. His voice is so low and so deep. I was like, excuse me, hello?
That's interesting. It was in the dub, he has kind of a more gravelly voice, sort of like this register. This is kind of what he sounds like.
Yeah, no, it is like very deep and very smooth in the Japanese version.
Well, that makes sense, because one thing you forgot to mention about Armada scores, one of the big pioneering things that Armada did, they said they looked at Starscream in G1, who, as I said, is a shrill, incompetent buffoon.
He is voiced by Chris Latta.
Who is screaming at the top of his lungs at all times.
Who is also, at the same time, Cobra Commander.
Yes. And they are very similar vocal performance, just very shrill. They looked at that and said, what if we took this incompetent idiot and turned him into like a sexy, tortured anime boy? And then they did.
And then they did. He's the Sasuke.
He is the Sasuke. Starscream is kind of the breakout character from Armada, I feel. Like his storyline is the most, like, it stands out to me the most.
Him and like Sideways.
Him, Sideways, and Hotshot are kind of the
and
ones that get them. Yes, they are. Yeah. They have like the big dramatic storylines.
Yeah.
Everyone else is just kind of there.
I love Sideways, by the way. Sideways, I think, is my actual favorite character in Armada.
Yeah, Sideways is cool as hell.
Sideways, I was like, I love Starscream, but I need someone who's a little bit more of a bitch. And Sideways was like, I'm here to betray people.
Sideways is the Starscream of this show. Starscream,
yeah, he is.
Armada Starscream isn't really treacherous. He's more conflicted.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't want to usurp Megatron. He mostly just wants Megatron to recognize his worth, which is really sad.
And also, like, be honorable, not shitty.
Yeah, but Sideways is the one who is just fucking prancing around betraying everybody.
Yeah, I love Sideways so much. I was obsessed with him as, like, a kid watching this show. I love Sideways.
He's one of the coolest aspects of the show, because, like, he's so mysterious, and, like, there's so much fucked up shit going on with him.
And he's just a dick.
He's just a huge asshole. So they're hanging out. So Megatron berates Starscream for not finding the Minicon's base. And so Starscream suggests, well, maybe Cyclonus would have better luck. So they're just sitting there arguing. Let's see. Oh, the humans have actually ran back into the cave, into the ship, to escape from the battle. And we see them back in there. Highwire opens a door for them into a more pristinely preserved section of the Minicon Arc. It's like very shiny. All of the mechanicals still work. At some point,
we get a scene of very weird robot imprinting. There's some very weird robot imprinting going on in this show.
At some point, Carlos calls Grindor his mechanical amigo. So that's where we're at.
Christ. So anyway, yeah. So Wheelie leads Alexa and Carlos into this room where there are two other Micron panels, and he's right. Okay, wake them up.
Yeah. Before that, actually, what drives him to do that is that Megatron is sort of staring at the Earth in space. He's out brooding outside the base, and he's like, I must find those Minicons. And he looks over on the ground and sees something shiny. It's like, oh. Yeah. Oh, hey, there's one.
Found one.
Cool. So there's a weird thing in the dub where when Megatron awakens the Minicon using like a horn, like a laser blast from his horn, which is interesting. There's a lot of the horns have a lot of functions over the course of Armada, which is one of the reasons I like them, is that they're not just like a design element. He does a lot of shit with them. And so he awakens this Minicon. And at first he says, it's perfect. But then he follows it up with, it's my old Minicon, Leader 1. Which sounds like they knew each other before, but everything to me says that this is the first time he's meeting this Minicon.
Okay, in the Japanese it's very explicit that this was a servant he used to have.
Oh, interesting.
So he goes,
okay.
He goes, Beryl, is that you? Beryl, it is you. It's like, and he says, finally, now that I'm reunited with my servant, Beryl, I will be unstoppable.
It's interesting. It feels like that is accurate. Him saying it's my old minicon, Leader 1, reunited at last. And so Rad finds the exposition computer, and he learns all about Megatron and Optimus.
Sorry, its name is Leader 1?
Yeah, his name is Leader 1 in the dub.
Okay, as long as it's not like Elita 1. I was like,
No,
that
it
would
is
have
not.
been very bad.
That would have been weird.
That would have been weird and bad if that was Elita 1.
It was Leader 1,
Okay.
which is a weird name. But so he finds his little minicon. That is what causes Highwire to freak out, because he senses that Megatron is reawakened to Leader 1. And obviously, so I think this beam that Megatron hits the panel with is like a brainwashing beam, because they mentioned that like they sort of take away autonomy from the minicons on the Decepticon side. So I assume that's what that is. It's never really clear, but that's what they say, at least in this expedition sequence, or they say it later. I think when Megatron uses Leader 1 on the battlefield, I think Rad says he must have brainwashed him or something, but I don't know if that's true.
Interesting, because my feelings always were that, like, the Microns were like, no, we just like these guys more than you. Like, they're sentient beings. They get to, like, choose who they work with. So
yeah, I think
that some
that's
of them
kind of
just
the case.
actually like the Decepticons.
Which is interesting, because in the comics, Leader 1 is definitely, like, working with Megatron against his will, and in fact, like, betrays Megatron. So in the comics, there's a splinter faction of neutral minicons living on the moon, led by the Destruction Team. And they kidnap both the Autobot aligned minicons and the Decepticon aligned minicons to kind of bring them to this neutral ground to try and convince them to abandon the cause. And Leader 1 is all for it. Leader 1 does not like the Decepticons. But Sparkplug and the Autobot minicons are kind of more they're a little bit more unsure of this. And so I think, and there is also a bit in the comics, I think this is a true thing in the comics, but not in the show, where the Decepticons actually do brainwash them, because when Megatron kidnaps the Starsaber, which we'll get to eventually, when he gains control of the Starsaber, he like forcibly reformats them into the Darksaber. He like forces them into working under his will. So in the comics, the Decepticons do brainwash the minicons working for them, or like forcibly like make them their servants. In the show, it seems like it is a thing there where the minicons choose what side they align themselves with.
What do you know?
Fascinating stuff. So,
Fascinating stuff.
In any case, Highwire awakens the other two members of his team, Grindor, who is this he turns into a skateboard, and Sure Shock, who turns into a scooter. And they both, like you said, we have this weird bonding moment with the humans. Literally, Grindor and Carlos do the ET thing.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just looking up their Japanese names because
They aren't named in these episodes yet, I don't think, but I know that that's what they're called.
Yeah. Wheelie was. I remember that Wheelie definitely was.
Yeah, I think Rad says his name is Highwire in this as well. So like, yeah, the leader is named, the other two are not yet. And by the way, those are Grindor and Sure Shock are also two new names. They are not legacy names, which is interesting.
Yeah.
It's where like half of the Armada cast is legacy names brought onto completely unrelated characters, and then the other half is just like new IPs, new names like Demolisher and Sure Shock. Demolisher is the most interesting one because that is a major character. That's not like some random minicon. Demolisher is a member of the main cast.
Okay, so Grinder is Bank.
Okay.
And let's see.
Bank, huh?
Bank, yes.
Agent Cody Bank. I assume Sure Shock is named something like Scoot.
Scoot. Sure Shock, let's see here.
I got it, let me see.
I got it, no. No, Sure Shock is RC.
Holy shit!
What?
That's right, Sure Shock is a girl. I forgot about that.
Sure Shock is RC. Alright. That's unfortunate.
So fun. That is very unfortunate that RC gets attached to the non-speaking minicon.
Yikes!
That's so sad. Oh well. We'll eventually get a cool RC in 8 years.
Yeah, in Prime.
She's also good at animated, but she's not really in the show that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, so these three sort of bond with the humans, and Rad kind of learns the difference between the Autobots and the Decepticons. There's some real, as he's reading about Optimus, he says the Autobots, their goal is peace in the universe for everyone. Okay.
Okay.
All right, that's some real like Miss America vibes. World peace.
Really?
So.
Also, you are not immune to propaganda.
Absolutely. I don't know why I guess because the Minicon arc was Autobot built. So, like, yeah, of course they would portray themselves as the good ones. God, there's so many. The line Optimus has in the third episode when asked, like, well, don't you want a Minicons too, right? It's like, yeah, we do, but like we aren't mean about it.
So these two new Microns, RC and Bank, I guess.
Bank.
RC and Bank also scan Alexa and Carlos's modes of transportation, which they do by turning into the girl from The Exorcism.
Yeah, the Minicons scan things by spinning their heads around really fast. Now I gotta say, so Sure Shock turns into like a moped, like just like a cool motorized street scooter, which is not like it's high tech but unremarkable. Grindor is a jet powered skateboard.
Yeah, and
there's rockets on the back.
Yeah, and Alexa's actually has a line where it's like, "Why do you just turn into a scooter? Like they have these rocket powered things." And RC's like, "It's beep 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 beep."
God. Are the Minicons dialogue subtitled, or they still make beeps and boops, right?
Yeah, they don't have any subtitles. It's just beeps and boops.
I like how all of the Minicons have slightly different beeps and boops, by the way.
Yeah. And only their government assigned human can understand them. Not even this is very important, not even the Cybertronians can understand them.
Yes, which is very interesting. But yeah, so they can each understand their own assigned Minicons. So yeah, so we speaking
of assigned Minicons.
Yeah, so then all right, so it's the next day, and Carlos, Rad, and Alexis or no, it's not the next day. They actually ride the Minicons out of the cave and they're enjoying their time. They're like, man, these. So I wrote down some particularly egregious toy selling lines here. So I think Carlos says, these little robots totally rock. And then Rad says, yeah, I get the feeling they're going to come in handy. Buy those Minicons, kids.
Buy your toys. Buy your toys.
The Street Action Minicon team is available in stores now. Then we see, so there's some real classic Megatron vibes in the next scene because he's sitting on a throne and calling everyone around him a huge idiot.
Wait, okay, there's a great line here where Sandstorm he's talking to Sandstorm, and Sandstorm's like, "Oh, cool Minicon you got there. Is that Barrel again, Megatron Sama?" And Megatron's like, "You will refer to him as Barrel Sama."
He's my special little boy.
Yeah, he's literally like, everyone will refer to him as Barrel Sama as well, and everyone else, and like on the side, Starscream goes, and he just has like this small little laugh, and Megatron's like, "Do you find something funny, Starscream?" And he's like, "No."
Am I a clown? Am I amusing to you? Listen to me. Leader 1 outranks all of you idiots. He's my special little guy.
Yeah, and you know what? There's a reason for this, because Leader 1 turns into a fucking fusion cannon.
Yeah, he turns into a gun and Megatron just starts shooting at everybody.
Yeah, he just like shoots at Sandstorm, and Sandstorm's like, "Please don't."
That's Galvatron vibes right there. Galvatron just randomly shooting at his own men. Yeah, the sweeps exclusively exist so Galvatron can blow them up when he's mad.
Why have the power of Unicron if you're not going to use it to kill clones?
Exactly. So Cyclone says, "Well, I couldn't find the base," but then so Megatron brings them all over to a screen and says, I looked at some vehicles on Earth, and these look way cooler than whatever dumb bullshit you turn into. So turn into this now.
And they're like, hell yeah!
So we see that the street action team can move so fast that they can hydrofoil on water. And I gotta say, these seem really unsafe for these teens to have.
It's fine, don't worry about it.
Like, Grindor has rockets on him. That's Carl. At least they're wearing helmets. I will say, at least they're cool extreme teens. They do practice proper helmet safety because that's the coolest thing of them all.
It's right. They wear helmets and they don't do drugs.
So while they're riding, they're having a lot of fun, and then the Decepticons show back up. They warp back down.
Like, exactly where they are. It's so funny.
Yeah, so Megatron has...
The plot holes in this series are unnavigable.
They are. And so... Well, I guess I assume they... Oh, actually, no. In the dub, Cyclonus says... Oh, yeah, I actually picked up 2 Minicons who were awakened on Earth. I don't know where the ship is, but I know where those Minicons are. So that's how they know.
Yeah.
And so Megatron plops down there, and he has an extremely toy-accurate transformation, which is really funny because it means that his entire body is visible on the underside of the tank. You can just see his head still there. It's really funny. So I assume... So everyone warps in. They're completely surrounded by gigantic military vehicles, which is terrifying. And I assume the only reason Megatron didn't immediately turn them into red mist is because he did not want to blow up the Minicons. Because they are riding the Minicons.
Right.
So they're like, well, we need to extricate these little meat bags from the guys we want somehow. And we can't just shoot my huge tank cannon at them.
Yeah, I don't want that getting in my gears.
So, we forgot to mention, at a certain point, Optimus scans a truck mode. And... Kind
of funny in the Japanese version that he's called Convoy before becoming a convoy.
And it's weird in the dub, he says, when he's doing it, he says, I need to scan for other Decepticon activity, and he scans the truck, like he's looking to see if it's a Decepticon. And
but it's not, and he's like, actually, this rules.
Actually, this is cool. So then that brings us to one of the funniest things I've ever seen. So they're completely surrounded. Megatron is chasing them. He's gaining on them, and then you just hear a truck horn.
Yeah.
And Optimus T-punts Megatron.
It's so good.
Optimus loves honking his horn in this episode. By the way, it's incredible. He loves it. He loves being a truck so much. So like
that's
Megatron
for my truck nuts, asshole.
Yeah, he gets Megatron back for kneeing him in the nads earlier and just completely sideswipes Megatron. It's so good. Because it's really funny because like Megatron is like, haha, you will soon be in my grip. And then you just hear, wah, wah, and then in like 3 frames, Megatron gets just owned. It's so good. He's like leaning up against a rock, so you can see his undercarriage and it's just his torso. It's just his body. And so, so then the other Decepticons go over and say, "Hey, are you all right, sir?" And Megatron just goes, "What the fuck? Go get the Minicons, assholes! I'm fine. Go get the fucking Minicons." So Demolisher goes to try and grab the kids.
Yeah, and Optimus is like, guess what? This isn't even my final form.
So then Optimus just rams right into him. And, like, runs him over. Like, he rams into him. Demolisher tries to, like, stop him. And then Optimus just pedals to the metal and just runs over him.
Yeah, oh, not before, like, shooting his face full of bullets.
Oh, right. That's right, because he has a turret on his cab, which I don't think is standard issue on haulers like
Seems
that.
Unlikely.
But I guess,
so, like, like, Sandstorm is half, like, Ironhide is, like, half stuck underneath him. As he's rolling him over and, like, dragging him along, and he just, like, directs his turret straight at his face. It shoots his face. Ironhide should be super dead.
Yeah, in this show, lasers do not have the weapons don't really do much seemingly.
Yeah, it's kind
people
of like
get
plink plink plink.
Yeah, people get when they are not Minicon powered. The lasers don't seem to do very much, which I guess is supposed to convey like No, they need these fucking minicons to do anything. Especially the Autobots, who, by the way, the Decepticons turn into military vehicles and have guns built onto them. The Autobots don't. I think they forgot their guns at home.
Yeah. They're like, but check out this cool car I turn into.
Yeah, so... Yeah, he runs over to Demolisher and then opens his car door and says, hey, get in, kids. And Alexis recognizes the Autobot symbol, so they climb in. And then Starscream and does Optimus turn into a super mode yet? I think he does, right?
Yes, this is where he's like, yeah, this isn't even my final form. And he's like, check this shit out. And it's like, why didn't you do this from the beginning, man?
He didn't have his trailer with him.
So yeah, he turns into super
mode.
or convoy great, as it's called in the Japanese version.
Great. That's a great convoy right there. He says Optimus Prime, super mode, and then we see the stock footage that we will undoubtedly see a billion times. But you know what? It's fine. It looks pretty cool. And he turns into a bigger, taller robot, but he just gets shot a bunch because he's a bigger target.
Yeah, it's literally just like bigger than before, and that's basically where the episode ends. Yeah,
well, where it ends is that Red Alert and Hotshot reappear. Also in their Earth modes now, and they're here to fight the Decepticons.
Yep.
And I have a note here. Did you didn't have the Red Alert toy, right, as a kid?
I didn't have any of the Armada toys.
I did, and so Red Alert had light and sound action because he was like a larger scale toy. And his voice. He also shot a disc out of his chest, but the main thing is that when you press the Autobot symbol on his chest, he went, Red Alert! Woo, 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 woo! And that was the only voice line. Red Alert! Woo, 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 woo! It's the funniest thing in the world. I'm gonna insert it here just so everyone can hear how fucking funny it sounds.
Red Alert!
Fantastic.
So, yeah, he just goes super mode with basically no fanfare or explanation. And this is where, so we're episode 3, base. What is it called in the sub?
Friends and Companions.
Ah, how nice. So this is where the recap contains literally dialogue that happened. I assume that this was like cut from the previous episode, because it's like dialogue from Red Alert and Hotshot that just straight up does not happen in the previous one. It's so weird. Literally none of the recap has anything that happened in the last episode. Like I said, it's more like a cold open. And this is where I put down, did the Autobots forget to bring fucking guns? Because they don't have any guns, so they're just getting blasted.
And Megatron's like, I want to introduce you to my little friend.
So, alright, this is where this beginning of questionable looking screen caps happens, because it's extremely funny. Megatron power links with Leader 1, which causes his cannon to...
by the way, that's what it's called.
Yes, so all the
minicons can attach themselves to not minicons, and basically provide boosts.
Yes. So, and this was also, these are all like things that the toys could do. There were certain every toy had a bunch of different minicon ports that you could plug the minicons onto, but certain ports had like a spring-loaded thing that would activate something. So like Megatron, I think Megatron's would activate light and sound if you plug Leader 1 on. Later we see Hotshot has like a shoulder cannon, that forms out of his axle. Red Alert gets a gun, which it makes me wonder why he didn't have that before. I don't know why you would have a gun that you need a minicon to power links to you to use, man. But yeah, Megatron power links.
He's a medic,
I guess. So Megatron power links with Leader 1 and starts fucking blasting. Unfortunately, he starts shooting ropes.
This is so fucking funny. He cannot control the recoil. It's the funniest shit. He's getting blasted across he first blasts himself to the other side of this mesa that they're on, and then just falls fully backwards.
I have my first screen cap that I took here that I will share with you. I will put it in. Let's see. I'll put it in Soundwave files here for you. I have an extremely phallic-looking screen cap of Megatron on his back, shooting the cannon upwards. Look at that.
Yeah, pretty good.
he just falls on his ass because the lasers are too strong. So obviously he is literally like being driven backwards. He is sliding backwards from the force of his cannon. But of course he falls on his ass. Just starts shooting lasers into the air. He vaporizes a mountain.
Yeah, and Starscream and Sandstorm like run over to him. It's like, "Are you all right, Lord Megatron?" And as they're going over, Optimus is like, "Hey, guess what? I'm still fucking here."
Yep, and just starts fucking batting him around.
The funniest thing is he grabs Starscream by his head and just like throws him into Sandstorm. It's not. It's Ironhide still.
Yeah, it's Ironhide. So he grabs Demolisher by the head. Demolisher's having a bad day.
Yeah.
This is where Red Alert has an extremely Canadian delivery, like hot shot. Hot shot.
I also want to point out that the background music here is something like straight out of Shadow of the Colossus in the Japanese version.
Oh, that's interesting because the Armada soundtrack is all like guitars and like electro beats.
No, it's literally the track from Shadow of the Colossus that's da-dun, da-dun, da-dun.
Oh, that's kind of what it sounds like in the Armada. Like I think they probably have the same. Actually, what do the eye catchers? Do the eye catchers have the like weird robot voice going like Transformers with guitars going on in the background? Okay, so that's the dub original. Yeah. Honestly, it sounds kind of cool. I can't lie.
It does. Yeah. No, I mean, I always like that.
Transformers.
So as Starscream gets thrown by the head into Ironhide, Megatron's like, "Fuck this again! Everyone retreat!" Yeah.
He doesn't leave.
He leaves.
He keeps leaving. Anytime he encounters even minor difficulties, like, fuck this.
But one person doesn't leave, and that one person is Sandstorm. And all of the Autobots see that Sandstorm's like heading up towards a cave where like the kids have gone to retrieve. They found a
minicon panel, yeah.
To retrieve a panel, and they're just watching this. They don't do anything about it. I want to be very clear. They don't do anything about it, but they're like, "Uh-oh, where's Sandstorm going? It's fine."
So this is where this picture of Cyclonus appears.
Yeah. So literally he shows up right outside the window, and he's like, "Hello, fellow kids."
You got games on your phone?
In this cave entrance.
He looks like the fucking super buff, like, Dunkelskog bear or whatever. The really huge bear with the tiny head. It's so funny. He just yoinks the fucking minicon and leaves.
Yeah, and then, he like literally just grabs the Micron and he's like, "Alright, now I'm gonna warp out, bye." And no one does anything about this.
Okay, to be fair, they're humans.
No, but like not the kids, like not the Autobots watching from down below. Anyway.
Yeah, and so he leaves. So they lost a minicon. This is where the kids are coming down. No wait, we cut to the moon base first.
We do get this.
Because I just want to spotlight some David K lines that are extremely funny. So first of all, he says, "This is taking far too long," and it's like, listen, it's been a day. You have been waiting millions of years for the minicons to resurface. Can you be fucking patient for a little while longer, Megatron? Calm down. But then there's... So, Cyclonus reappears. He has a minicon. And everyone's like, "Ah, cool." There's a line that Megatron has... Because he's kind of berating his soldiers as usual, right? He's doing the Megatron thing. He's like, "You fucking idiots, you huge, you massive fuck ups! I can't believe I'm surrounded by huge incompetent morons." But then some Cyclonus reappears, and they're like, "Well, it's probably time to start creating turning this like Hulk of a ship into a real base." And Megatron has an extremely jovial delivery of, "Come on, boys, we've got work to do."
In the Japanese version, there is one line from Starscream I like here, which is just like the stereotypical emo boy, "Ch."
Yes!
That's something that Megatron says here.
But I just love the delivery of, come on, boys, we've got work to do. Like, this is why when I say that David Cage Megatron has this aspect of camp that makes him so fun. So then we cut down to Optimus. Are they in the base? I think they're in the base. Yeah, they're in the base. The Minicon ship. So already we're doing a lot of clip show stuff in this episode, which is a bad sign.
Yeah.
This episode I feel like was written on produced on a fucking shoestring budget. They were like, quick, just shove old footage in there.
Wait, 3 parts? We thought you said 2 parts.
Rad is gonna have just in extreme detail tell Optimus how he found the Minicons. Yeah, so Optimus
and Rad are basically exchanging all the information in the known universe to each other, and there's a great part where Alexa had been very cautious of both sides. For Rad and Carlos were immediately oh yeah, Autobots are awesome, woohoo! But Alexa's they all seem like big evil robots to me. So, there's a great moment where Rad and Carlos are listening to Optimus talk about the war and everything, and they're literally wow, cool robot. And Alexa's they're sentient, talking about the Minicons, and Alexis is they're sentient creatures with rights, you dumb fucks.
Yes. So this is where Rad asks, or maybe it's Alexis who asks, hey, aren't you also seeking the Minicons to win the war? And Optimus is yeah, but we're nice about it. We don't, we aren't mean to them. We see Minicons as their own people. There's a line here, though, where Optimus is talking about how, the Minicons were built and designed to be workers, but never slaves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, Optimus. I feel like you aren't thinking too much about how the fact that you had a custom built labor class. Maybe think about that a little bit more, Prime.
We're not going to get to class consciousness until a decade later.
All of the class consciousness stuff is in the fucking comics. I'm telling you.
Well, it's in Prime a bit.
It is in Prime, but there's actually a scene in the comics where, like I said, they have this Splinter moon base. The Decepticons eventually attack it and take it.
Oh, you mean the Armada comics? Sorry.
Yeah, the Armada comics. The Decepticons attack that Splinter group moon base and take it. Rad also gets kidnapped there. Don't worry about that. He's strapped to a big bomb. It's not important. So the Autobots and the Decepticons battle there. The Decepticons end up actually taking the moon base and all of the Minicons who live there. And they coerce the Destruction Team, who are the leaders of this neutral Splinter group, into working with them. And so they give them to Cyclonus to do some on planet mission stuff. But the Destruction Team, they basically you want to use our power, huh? Okay, we'll give you all of our power. And they basically overload Cyclonus, drive him mad, and eventually turn him comatose by just pumping all of their power into him.
Praxis.
It's fucking cool. And then, of course, they all get, put in fucking torture jail by Megatron in retaliation. He's all right, fuck you. You little shits.
Yeah.
But I should say, so Red Alert and Hotshot introduced themselves to the humans at this point.
Yeah.
And I wanna.
Are we going to talk about the fist bumping?
We will in a minute. I just want to say first that, so Red Alert just says, "Hi, my name's Red Alert." And then Hotshot says, "You can call me Hotshot because that's what I am. I don't take any prisoners." I was well, hey, what? Sorry, what was that last bit? There's a lot to unpack there, Hotshot.
You fucking heard me.
There's a lot to unpack there. He says, "I'm Hotshot because that's what I am," which is a weird thing to say about your name. But then he says, "I don't take any prisoners." Okay, gotcha. You're
Yikes,
I see why you're here.
Yeah.
You're here for the fucking wet work, huh, Hotshot? You like to murder. But yeah,
I want to steal.
So this is where so Carlos says, "Oh man, you guys are wicked cool, especially the way you can transform like that. Way cooler than those other dudes. They suck." And I gotta say, Carlos, don't be racist. They also transform. That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
That's not like the point is that the Decepticons are bad and evil. That's why they're not good. Not that the Autobots can transform. So this is where the humans are like they have bonded over this. Alexis is like, you know what, you guys seem all right. We gotta help these minicons out, and they fist bump, and then Hotshot,
Yeah.
Hotshot holds his hand.
I want to get in
like,
on this, and almost like kills the three of them.
Yeah, they're like, whoa, hey, calm down. And he the line he says is, where is it? I want to slap fists with you too.
Oh, in the sub, he's like, sorry, I forgot about my size.
Yeah, he kind of says that too. He's like, I just wanted to slap fists with you guys too. I forgot that I'm like, I'm too big.
But a good leader doesn't leave his homies hanging.
I mean, Hotshot, come on, man.
Optimus offers his fist, and he and Hot Rod just fist bump over and over again.
They love it.
They're so into it. And eventually they get Ratchet to join in as well. And it is literally shaking the base how hard they are fist bumping.
Fist bumping. Carlos was like, man, I hope they don't hurt I hope they don't hurt themselves in their enthusiasm.
Yeah.
It's so fucking funny. Alright, so then we cut next day.
We cut to the next day at school, where
there's some incredible basketball banter going on because they're playing basketball, and
so the three of them are playing against Jim and Billy.
There's some chatter, and Billy says, in like the mix is kind of low, like it's more like you got the background music, so this is kind of muffled. But it's like I'll try my best to replicate exactly as it's like, you are going down, little boy. You ain't ever gonna get past me, pal. The way he. It's just like, there's something about the way he delivers, like, you are going down, little boy.
Are you prepared for the death you've earned, little man?
Yeah, basically. Now, I gotta say, this really also casts Rad, Carlos, and Alexis as the bullies, because they're doing 3-on-2 basketball. Yeah,
exactly. They're like beating Billy and Jim, and they're like, yeah, that's the power of teamwork. I'm like, no, it's the power of cheating. There's 3 of you and 2 of them. What are you talking about? This is
extremely unfair, you guys. Come on. Also, Alexis is like fairly tall, so I think is she the tallest one?
Yes.
Maybe it's Rad. I don't know.
Oh, Rad might be taller.
Is that
she's definitely taller than Carlos.
Yes. The point is that they're stomping Billy and Fred brutally, and they're hanging out after the game, and this is where Billy notices Carlos's extreme, insane skateboard.
And hey, y'all want to talk about gatekeep girl boss Gaslight?
Yes, because this is where they're like, Billy's like, hey, where were you guys during that fucking earthquake?
What earthquake?
And the Carlos really goes, what earthquake?
Yeah, so Carlos is the gatekeep to Alexa's girl boss to Rad's Gaslight.
Yeah, he's literally, oh, we must. I didn't hear any fucking earthquake. Maybe I was asleep. I don't know.
Yeah, and they're like, we know you were in the mountains. We saw your bike there. And it's like, what are you talking about? No. And then Alexa's like, well, if there was a earthquake, it would have been recorded by the station's equipment, wouldn't it? And Billy and Jim are like, the power went out there. And she's like, no, I don't think it did. She's like, if it would have gone out, then the backup power would have worked. So sounds like you guys are just making it up. It's like, you guys are gaslighting these motherfuckers to death.
Insane shit. What the hell are you people talking about? I assume it's like, we have to keep them away from the secret robot base, but like, you don't have to gaslight. You can just say, wow, man. Oh, we should say, we forgot, when Billy and Fred eventually do escape from the cave, they see the imprint that Megatron left when Optimus tackled him to the ground.
Right.
And they think it's a giant footprint. But when they return to the cave in this episode, it's gone. They're like, oh, fuck. There's a fucking cover-up, man. So also the Autobots are gaslighting them.
Yeah, I mean, but they're not doing it consciously. They're
just covering their tracks.
Yeah, they're just covering their tracks. These 3 are saying, like, the thing you experienced didn't happen.
Insane. So this is where Billy is like, whoa, what the fuck kind of skateboard is this? And Carlos is like, oh this thing,
holy shit.
It's just like, this is just my dad's skateboard from the 80s. It's nothing special. It's like,
okay.
Carlos, there's fucking jets on the back of your skateboard.
This is, in my opinion, the worst that this episode looks.
Yeah.
So they're talking about, like, Brad and Carlos's new gear, and because they're shitty 12-year-old boys, they're like, yeah, look how cool it is. And it looks like the Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff we have achieved liftoff.
It does.
So they just like power up their things and they just like glide over a staircase, but it literally looks like it's someone like taking a JPEG, a transparent JPEG on a background and just moving it over it.
Yep,
we have achieved liftoff.
This episode, like the other two episodes, look hit or miss, but there's some pretty good looking bits of the first two episodes. This episode just looks like shit all the way through. Just looks very bad.
And this is just so bad.
So we cut back to the moon base.
Meanwhile, Starscream's like, I've decided to cause problems on purpose.
Yeah, he and Demolisher are just fighting.
So
I assume that they're fighting over a minicon, right? Like
yes,
they recovered another minicon.
Yeah, exactly. They're fighting over the another Micron that has been recovered, and Starscream's like, "Hey, guess what? I'm gonna kick your ass." And Ironhide's like, "You can't kick my ass," and Starscream's like, "Surprise, bitch, I can."
Yep. So
and he kicks his ass.
Yeah, he kicks his ass. So he deploys his wing sword for the first time, which is a thing that Armada Starscream has.
I love it.
Very cool. He can turn his, I believe his right wing into a sword. Now, usually it glows like a lightsaber, but this time it doesn't. They hadn't decided that's what the effect it has yet. Now, so two things. First of all, I took this clip of this screenshot of Starscream and Demolisher wrestling because well, draw your own conclusions about how it looks. But when Starscream puts his wing sword away after Megatron breaks up the fight, it looks so bad.
It looks pretty
His
bad. hand
just kind of vaguely goes near where the wing would go, and then the wing just kind of clips back onto it.
Yeah, Megatron. So
it's so bad looking.
Megatron breaks up the fight. He says the fight has been decided, and Starscream like I won't allow it to continue any further. And Starscream like smiles smugly, and he's like, "Hell yeah, Micron is mine." And then it goes over and back in the throne room, and Megatron's like, "Anyway, Ironhide, you get this Micron." And Starscream's like, "What?"
So interesting. I think in the dub, this was not an official thing that Megatron was judging because he shows up and was like, "What the fuck are you two doing out here?"
Oh yeah, no, he wasn't judging it. He wasn't judging it. He just came to stop it.
Yeah,
but
so he was decided. Like,
yeah,
since you started Shitstorm, you don't get the fucking minicon.
Oh no, so it's interesting. He's like, Starscream's like, "Why do you mean I don't get the Micron? Like I'm clearly better. Like I'm clearly better than Ironhide," and Megatron says in this sort of like very Megatron, in a very Megatron move, he goes, "I know exactly how strong you are. That's why you don't need help to find a Micron of your own."
Oh, that kind of is like, yeah. So like, that's different, slightly different. He's basically like, you are the only one who didn't find a minicon. I need you. If you want a minicon, you need to go find it on your own. Yeah, I'm not going to give you one.
He specifically says, like, Starscream's like, "I've proven that I'm strong." And Megatron's like, "Yes, I recognize that. You are strong. That's why you don't need the help."
See, the dub doesn't have that bit of it. He's like, or maybe it does and I didn't pick up on it, but he's basically
probably
like,
doesn't.
You need to, he's like, you go find your own fucking minicon. You are acting like a real asshole right now. But the scene where they're all kneeling in front of Megatron starts with Starscream basically telling on Demolisher like a bratty teen.
I love him.
He says, "And when Demolisher said he was your right-man hand, I lost it, Megatron, because we know I'm next in line. We all know I'm your special little boy."
No, that's Beryl, you idiot. Yeah,
Megatron's like, "No, you fucking asshole." Like, the delivery of, "I lost it." Like, it's so fucking funny. But yeah, so Starscream is the only one he is miniconless. So the teens head into they're exploring the secret Autobot base. Rad says, "This place is wicked sweet. It's packed full of computers. It's like a candy store for geeks." What?
Hey,
What the fuck are you talking about? I really wanted Alexis to turn and go, "What are you talking about, dude? What do you mean a candy store for geeks? Are you okay?"
So,
did you hit your head in the cave or something? Are you
so
good?
there actually is a really funny joke in the Japanese version here, which is that Carlos can't stop calling everything Suge. Awesome. So, like,
so
literally
good.
he turns around and just says, Suge! Over and over again. And Alexa here, instead of saying, like, what the fuck are you talking about? It says, like, can't you use any other word besides Suge? And, like, Rad walks in and he's like, yeah, like, you can say, like, instead of saying incredible, you could say, like, the best, like, psycho, or, what was the other word he used? Kakui. You could say cool, or the best, even. And Carlos just looks at him and goes, I could, but if it's incredible, I'm gonna call it incredible. And so he just, like, keeps using Suge. And even after they have this conversation, every time something happens in this scene, he says Suge.
Yep. And so this is where Optimus gives them Laserbeak. He's like, all right, so this is...
Yeah.
I know you guys want to help. So I'm going to give you this to look after you so you
It's
don't
called
get in trouble.
Laserbeak in the dub?
Yes, it is a Laserbeak in the
Okay,
dub.
it's just the Cyberhawk in the sub.
Interesting. So yeah, Laserbeak is obviously another sort of cross-factional change.
Yeah.
Laserbeak is, of course, Soundwave's pet condor in G1. Basically, Laserbeak was always there to perch on whoever was around to perch on. He perched a lot on Megatron and Soundwave, never on Starscream. Starscream never got Laserbeak to perch on his arm. He wasn't cool enough. But yeah, it's Laserbeak in the... interestingly enough, so I all of the toys came with, like, catalogs for what else was out that year, right? So
Yeah.
like, when you bought a toy, it's like, here's what else you can buy. Laserbeak was in there in the, like, role play category because he was like he was basically to scale in the show. He turns into a camcorder and a little cyber bird, and so the Laserbeak toy was to scale and it was like a role play item. In the final toy has the orange and blue color scheme that it has in the show, but in the catalog, I guess it was an early production model because the color scheme in the catalog is way more reminiscent of Laserbeak's G1 colors, with like black and red, with some teal on there. So it was really interesting, but I guess they decided to go away from the G1 like reference for Laserbeak. So basically, like, they get this thing as a way to, like, all right, so we don't really want to, like, super involve you. Optimus says he doesn't want to super involve them, but as it goes forward, he sure likes bringing them into battlefields.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think maybe he's just trying to get them killed to get them out of his hair. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
But
freedom is the right of all sentient beings, but living is not.
you have the freedom to come with us and into this dangerous situation, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah. Who knows how... I mean, humans live for such a short amount of time. You're adults, right? 12 is an adult,
like,
right? I have no idea.
You're like middle age or whatever, right? I don't know.
I'm several million years old.
I don't know what a child is. So, this is when the fucking klaxons start going off, and everyone runs to the command center. And I love the, like, pulsing rainbow holo display that this base has. I fucking love that shit.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of graphs and bars going all over the place, and I don't know what any of it means, but it looks cool. And so, yeah, the bunch of minicons have all started awakening since the kids have awakened the three main minicons here. And so, like, time to go. It's time for the driving force of every episode from now on. We're going to go to a place to find a minicon. And that is the setup for the remainder of the first half of Transformers Armada.
Yeah.
I still think it's a fun show. Like, obviously the dub is a early 2000s anime dub, so it's got all of the warts of that. But honestly, I think it's not as bad as some other of its contemporaries.
Well, I mean,
like most things seem to be like carried over pretty well. Characters seem mostly the same. Obviously, I do wish they had left in Megatron saying, I think it was mostly like, I think the thing they took there is like, if you want to be my right-hand man, you need to prove yourself capable.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to be the strongest, I need to see that you are capable of doing so. Yeah, that's the first 3 episodes there, the kind of loose-ish 3-parter. I mean, they're kind of a continuous plot, sort of.
I mean, yeah,
really.
in the way that a television show has a continuous plot.
But from now on, every other episode is basically going to be, they're going to go to a place, and they're going to find a guy.
Yeah.
Every episode is about learning about a new type of guy.
Every episode, someone makes up a new guy.
Yep. And by the way, I guess we should say, they aren't named in this episode, but Cyclonus' minicon is named Crumple Zone, and Demolisher's minicon is named Blackout.
Okay. Oh, it's Blackout? That's funny.
Yes.
1 second. Let me see what those are. Give me a second. Crumple Zone. What a stupid name.
That's another new name, I think. That is a new...
It definitely is. 1 second.
Yeah, when the score is... Crumple Zone is just named Cannon.
Okay.
Japanese. And Blackout is Search.
Yes, I did remember they did say Search when he was being gifted to...
Because he's like a radar
Ironhide.
truck or something.
Yeah.
He's got like a radar dish.
Yeah.
So Blackout and Crumple Zone are the minicons. None of the other Autobot... Oh no, I forgot. We totally forgot to mention, Red Alert and Hotshot just find some minicons.
Oh yeah,
around.
they also got their guys. Don't worry about it.
Hotshot's partner is Jolt, who in Japanese is named... Oh, Japanese is also Jolt. And Red Alert's is Long Arm, who is Hook in Japanese.
That's funny.
That is so funny. One of the Constructicons just gets just some guy. So yeah,
But they're both Constructicons.
They are both cranes. It just
it's
Hook is
long haul, not long arm.
Yeah, Long Arm. Long Arm is another new a new name.
Yeah.
So although I think G1 Hook is like a fucked up doctor, right? Isn't that who he is?
Hook is G1 Decepticon medic, CMO.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the
Would
Constructicons are the medics, but Hook is the CMO, even though Scrapper is the leader of the Constructicons.
Scavenger, I believe, in English.
No, it's
not
Scrapper.
Scavenger,
It's Scrapper.
Scrapper, yes.
Yeah,
Scrapper.
it's just Scrapper. Scavenger is also a Constructicon, but he is not the leader
Scavenger
of
is
them.
another guy.
Yeah.
Scavenger in the show later, in a very G1 Constructicon inspired deco. All right, so yeah, that's Armada. Obviously, since this is the first recorded episode, we don't have any questions. We'll probably do questions posts going forward, but I am excited to continue on. There's some interesting stuff that happens in this first bit of Armada.
Yeah.
Of the going around to find a guy, because this first stage is going around to find guys. Then slowly we learn, oh, these guys can become a thing. So then we go around finding the things.
Right.
And then the last half of Armada is making up a kind of guy to get mad at. Unicron. Really, that's what Armada is about. Armada is just a show about guys and various...
About making up guys over and over again.
Yep.
To sell toys.
To sell so many toys. There are a bunch of Minicon toys that never actually made it into the show, I think. Or not a bunch, but a few of them.
Yeah.
No, actually, all of the Minicons, I think, made it in.
Well, mazel to all of them.
But of course, all of the Minicons had bios in the toy line. They were all separate characters for the most part. But in the show, they're just guys. They're just little guys.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. They love it. They love it.
Except for the Street Action Minicon team, they're basically the only ones that have. Although interesting enough, right now they love it. They're just little guys who love it. I think later on in the show, there are episodes about these Minicons kind of don't want to be in the war. I think in particular, it's the Space Minicon team that has a thing where it's they don't want to be part of this anymore.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because the Space Minicon team turns into something called the Requiem Blaster.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Which is a bad time if you get hit by that, as we'll learn later.
Should we do plugs?
Yeah, plug time, I guess. Why don't you go first,
Sure.
I suppose?
As a whole, you can find us on the Noisepace XYZ network, which you can find at noisepace.xyz. We're very excited to be there. Thank you to Matt GameCube for putting us up on there.
Hell yeah.
A lot of other good shows on the network. You can listen to things like the Sonic Shuffle and Kamurocho Radio, and if you're interested in this show, probably you'd be interested in Wow Cool Robot, which is about Gundams, but robots. They're cool.
Cool.
And you can also follow our account at on Twitter at Prime Cuts Pod. In our URL now is a link to our Discord, which I just put in as we were recording this. A permanent link to our Discord, which you should join and hang out with us.
Watch along. It's free on Tubi and YouTube.
It's everywhere. It's all of Transformers is basically on Tubi, which is very funny.
Except that if you want to watch Micron Legend, you'll have to kind of go to the usual shady anime sites for that one, and it'll probably be very poor quality.
Shout out to my boy Go Go Anime.
Sponsored by Go Go Anime.
I've been Audrey. You can find me personally on Tumblr and Twitter at Optimum on Prime, which is my funny robot internet joke that hopefully you can all appreciate, or at least appreciate if you're in any area where Optimum Online provides service. And I don't have any, you can also follow my other podcast that I do, also on the Noise Space Network, Pod of Greed, which is a Yu-Gi-Oh! Watch podcast. We're towards the end of Season 2 of GX, and things are just a little nutty.
They sure are.
Things are just a little nutty! Don't have any other projects in the making at the moment. Oh, that's at Pod of Greed Cast on Twitter. Don't have any other project in making at the moment, but if you're interested in hearing more from me, you can follow at The Reticulation. That's TheReticulation on Tumblr, Twitter, and Facebook for updates about a website I'm trying to start with a friend of mine to uplift and spotlight LGBT voices in the realm of pop culture criticism.
And you can find me on Twitter at Dragon Smoocher. I mostly just retweet good art and shit. You can listen to the entirety of the Podcast of Power, a She-Ra and the Princesses of Power deep dive podcast me and my friend Jane did over the past year and a half. That's over at Pod of Power on Twitter, or at Podcast of Power on Twitter. You can also listen to me every other week on Disney Minus talking about shit over there. Just recorded an episode on The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, with a sexy emo lion. The next one we're going to be doing is Nightmare Before Christmas, because it is that season. Half of that season of that movie. That movie is like, it's always good. So you get to watch that movie twice a year, basically.
Yeah.
You can watch it for Halloween, and you can watch it for Christmas. Looking forward to that. You can also find that's at Disney Minus Pod. I don't know if I said that. You can also find me and Jane's future project, which will undoubtedly consume years of our lives. We are doing an analysis of Final Fantasy XIV as a whole text, which is a thing only insane people do, because that game has been written by like 50 people and takes place over the course of like 10 years and whatever. That's Radio Free Heidelin over at Heidelin Radio on Twitter. That is, of course, spelled HYDAELYN Radio on Twitter. That's going to be starting up next year. But next week, we will be talking about, let's see, our next
2 episodes.
I guess. Yeah, 2 episodes, so that will be episodes 4 and 5, which are Comrade and Soldier in the dub.
I'll let you know when I get to the names in the sub. I literally can't find them anywhere except
in the episode.
Yeah, actually translated in the episode screen. And until then, I'm gonna put my animation through quality assurance, transform and roll out.
I am going to hand the Minicons a copy of Capital by Karl Marx and transform and roll out. And rise up, comrades.
See you next time. Peach!
See ya. Peach.